unseen by time, and ambitions are low, and resentment rides high, but emotions won't grow, and we're changing our ways, taking different roads. Love will tear us apart again. Love will tear us apart again. Why is this bedroom so cold? You turn away on your side. Is my timing not flawed? Our respect runs so dry. Yet there's still this appeal that we've kept you alive. Love will tear us apart again. Love will tear us apart again. Fly out in your sleep, all my failings exposed. There's a taste in my mouth as desperation takes hold. Just that something so good just can't function no more. Love will tear us apart again. Love will tear us apart again. Love will tear us apart again. Love will tear Morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning. I hope everyone is having a wonderful morning. Um, y'all, y'all, y'all. Alright, I don't think I have anything. So I guess we can get right into the news. Novel attack against virtually all VPN apps neuters their entire purpose. Tunnel vision vulnerability has existed since 2002 and may already be known to attackers. Researchers have devised an attack against nearly all virtual private network applications that forces them to send and receive some or all of their traffic outside of the encrypted tunnel designed to protect it from snooping and tampering. Excuse me. Tunnel vision, as the researchers have named their attack, largely negates the entire purpose and selling point of VPNs, which is to encapsulate incoming and outgoing internet traffic in an encrypted tunnel and to cloak the user's IP address. Researchers believe it affects all VPN applications when they're connected to a hostile network, and that there are no ways to prevent such attacks except when the user's VPN runs on Linux or Android. They also said their attack technique may have been possible since 2002, may already have been discovered and used in the wild since then. The attack works by manipulating the DHCP server that allocates IP addresses to devices trying to connect to the local network. Setting known as option 121 allows the DHCP server to override default routing rules that send VPN traffic through a local IP address, then initiates the encrypted tunnel. By using option 121 to route VPN traffic through the DHCP server, the attack diverts the data to the DHCP server itself. Researchers from Leviathan Security explained. Our technique is to run a DHCP server on the same network as a targeted VPN user and to also set our DHCP configuration to use itself as a gateway. When the traffic hits our gateway, we use traffic forwarding rules on the DHCP server to pass traffic through to a legitimate gateway while we snoop on it. We use DHCP option 121 to set a route on the VPN user's routing table. The route we set is arbitrary, and we can also set multiple routes if needed by pushing routes that have more specific than a 0 CIDR range /0 CIDR range that most VPNs use. We can make routing rules that have a higher priority than the routes for the virtual interface the VPN creates. We can set multiple /1 routes to recreate the 0.0.0.0/0 all traffic rules set by most VPNs. Now, if I was going to put on my tinfoil hat, I would say that, yeah, your VPNs, it's weird, right? It's weird that, like, you know, if there's these entities out in the world doing hacking and whatnot and so forth, and you know, At the same time, there's these VPNs which hide all your internet traffic. So how could government agencies, so on and so forth, detect where those entities are and who is doing the thing? Privacy is an illusion. You're on the internet. Any sufficiently resourced agency can locate where you are. And apparently, if you have access to this bullshit, then don't even have to be that heavily resourced. So yeah, something to take into consideration. All right, so we had previously touched on this GPT-2 chatbot that showed up, hung out for like a day or two, and then disappeared. A powerful new chatbot mysteriously returns in the middle of the night. An advanced AI model with unknown origins is back online as online communities are once again picking apart a cryptic Sam Altman tweet. The mysterious AI chatbot, GPT-2 chatbot, returned to the major large language model benchmarking site LMSys.org on Monday, roughly a week after it abruptly disappeared. But now there are two. I'm a good GPT-2 chatbot, and I'm also a good GPT-2 chatbot. Models exhibited the same GPT-4 level capabilities, with some saying they're even better than the original. These models are even more fleeting than the first GPT-2 chatbot. Most AI models on LMSys you can select from a drop down menu. However, the only way to access I'm a good and I'm a good or I'm also a good is by navigating to the arena. And there you can enter a prompt and hope one of the chatbots comes up randomly. Despite the strange nature of these chatbots, they've once again drawn massive attention from the AI community. Warner Bong and stuff. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman tweeted, I'm a good GPT-2 chatbot on Sunday, a day before these chatbots went online, which many see as confirmation that OpenAI is A-B testing new models. LMSys.org typically only works with major AI model providers, offering many of them anonymous testing services. Gizmodo could not verify this, but that didn't stop the online community from running wild with speculation about what OpenAI is cooking up. So, yeah, could this be GPT 4.5? Could this be a different version of GPT 4? If it's on par with GPT 4, it wouldn't make sense for it to be GPT 5, unless GPT 5 is going to be very disappointing. Uh, so yeah, this is this is where we are. Shout out to the world. Renewable energy passes 30% of world's electrical supply. Report says humans may be on brink of cutting fossil fuel generation even as demand for electricity rises. Renewable energy accounted for more than 30% of the world's electricity for the first time last year, following a rapid rise in wind and solar power. A report on the global power system has found that the world may be on the brink of driving down fossil fuel generation, even as overall demand for electricity continues to rise. Clean electricity has already helped to slow the growth in fossil fuels by almost 2/3 in the past 10 years, according to the report by climate think tank Ember. It found that renewables have grown from 19% of electricity in 2000 to more than 30% of global electricity last year. The renewable futures has arrived. Solar, in particular, is accelerating faster than anyone thought possible. And you can see on this little graph, that hydro here was, let's say, about 17% of the renewable sources and has fallen to 14.3. Other renewables like geothermal expanded a bit, still kind of holding strong, and then dipped down a bit. And that wind and solar have to the moon. So the fastest growing source of electricity for the 19th consecutive year, also became the largest source of new electricity for the second year running after surpassing wind power. The decline of power sector emissions is now inevitable. 2023 was likely the pivot point, a major turning point in the history of energy, but the pace of emission falls depends on how fast the renewable revolution continues. And we've already covered how the EPA, their new regulations, barring anything happening which removes the the regulations that they put in place, um, will likely kill the coal industry in a very short amount of time. Warren Buffett, Warren Buffet. It says one question posed by AI has stumped economists for a century. Warren Buffet is the first to admit he doesn't know much about artificial intelligence, and that's in keeping with his longtime philosophy of steering clear of technology that is beyond his grasp. His massive stake in Apple, for example, his largest stock holding, even if it's been reduced, came about more as an epiphany related to its consumer success than as a technology bet, he said over the weekend at the Berkshire Hathaway annual meeting. But at the closely watched event in Omaha this year, the billionaire investor and Berkshire CEO and chairman couldn't avoid AI as a topic on the minds of shareholders. Buffett Buffett fielded several questions about artificial intelligence. Calling AI profound, Buffett said the technology is like a genie. Once it gets let out of the bottle, it could have disastrous effects. That is one way to interpret what a genie is, yes. The worst fears he sees massive scamming ability enabled by AI to the threat of a breakthrough science equivalent to nuclear weapons and unintended consequences and risk to humanity. And there's at least one question, Buffett said, that no one can answer when it comes to AI's impact on the world, which may change the lives of every individual on a daily basis. Good morning, Reed. It's a question, he said, that has riddled the best economists for a century. It can create an enormous amount of leisure time, Buffett said. Now, what the world does with leisure time is another question. I know an awful lot of people think they can, when they go to work, at first, what they want is leisure time, and what I like is actually having more problems to solve. Okay? Buffett pointed to the example of John Maynard Keynes, one of the most important economic thinkers of the modern era, who correctly predicted output per capita would grow at an exponential rate, but failed to predict what humans would do with increased productivity. That is a particular way to phrase that statement. Keynes is generally regarded as the father of macroeconomics, known best for his support of government intervention through social and job programs in order to stabilize economics during economic downturns, including the Great Depression. And books include The General Theory of Employment, Interest, and Money, which Buffett recommended adding to a reading list. Productivity has been booming over the past several quarters. How about decades? This rebound, okay. After a massive productivity spike during COVID, there was a protracted slump, and it's only over the past 4 quarters that the data has turned around, up roughly 3% year over year. This rebound has led to questions from corporate executives. What up, Antiforia? Um, about factors that could be at play from AI to return to office mandates. But most say it's still too early in the technology's implementation to make any connection, drawing a distinction between AI that has been deployed for years already and where gains can be tracked versus the generative AI that everyone is talking about today, and that will take some time to show up in the data. Oh, maybe I didn't grab that article. Sometimes I don't grab articles because I don't think they're actually good articles. Just the vibe that I get feels like stuff. And sometimes I don't grab articles because I failed to paste them into my document. Economic researchers also caution against reading too much into any short term productivity boost, as quarterly government data is often subject to significant revision, and it can take years to be able to identify a major change in the productivity trend line. I, None of you require me to trot out the graph, right? Where as of like 1970 something, productivity and wages diverged, so on and so forth. You know this graph. Everyone's seen this graph. If you need to see the graph, I will go get it, but I think you're all good. I think you know the graph I'm talking about. Yeah. Um. Well, so between like what happened, um, like and people like to say Reagan, and don't get me wrong, Reagan did contribute to the entire process, but you also have to look at Nixon and you have to look at Carter, and what happened was that they started to decouple, productivity from wages, obviously. Now, why they were able to do that and get away with it? A decline in unions, a sense of increased nationalism in the United States, an increase of the individualist mentality, um, and the output of that you all saw. Oh, what happened in 19 or in 71? Oh, okay. I don't know everything. I'm just pretty. I like that they put it in 71 because they often, this graph is often, we're looking at the graph. They often put the line in 1980, for Reagan, but it's actually, yes, it's 1971, right? Because that's when the decoupling started. And you see how it's small. that's why they put this is like 1980, like right in here, and so this is the point where people point to because it's easy to point to Reagan, but Reagan, you know, just added to the things that were already coming, and he made it worse. I mean, fuck Reagan. I'm not gonna go to bat for Ronald Reagan, but yeah, no, this is if you don't have it because I didn't have it. Now you have it. There you go. Thank you. So the idea of just confining, you know, and this is what gets me. I was in Kel Thicknesses, and they were doing an article, and it was talking about how like self-selecting neighborhoods, right, and how people had moved um, from like conservatives and Republicans moving from like New York moving to Texas, right? And they broke it down by county and they had these two maps. This one from whatever year it was and this one from more recently, and you could see how people had moved and they were talking about this as part of like a self-selection system that was in place. And what irritated me about it is that I couldn't get I your map is fine, but I actually want the entirety of that data, and I want to be able to track that map over the entire period for which you have data, right? Because depending on what data you select, you can use it and interpret it in such a way to get particular outcomes, that you want to talk about, and that they will bolster your claims. Now, whether or not, I'm not saying that what they're saying isn't correct. What I'm saying is I want to see the greater trend. And to just talk about, the productivity over the last several quarters is one thing, right? But let's talk about productivity over, you know, longer periods of time, and let's identify all the factors that are involved in the decoupling of productivity from wages and everything else. And that's it. It's just because Warren Buffett likes to work hard, wants more problems to solve. The question is, you know, what will people do with their leisure time? Let's start by giving them some leisure time, and then we can do science to it, right? Oh, that's the same one. Generative AI is speeding up human like robot development, what that means for jobs. ChatGPT like artificial intelligence is speeding up research and bringing humanoid robots closer to reality in China, home to many of the world's factories. AI has been around for decades. What's changed with the emergence of OpenAI's ChatGPT chatbot is the ability of AI to better understand and generate content in a human like way. While the US based tech is not officially available in China, local companies such as Baidu have released similar chatbots and AI models. In robotics, the development of generative AI can help machines with understanding and perceiving their environment, said Li Zhang, a chief operating officer of Shenzhen based LimX Dynamics. About 3 months after joining the 2 year old startup, Lee said he shortened his expectation for how long it would take LimX to produce a humanoid robot capable of not just factory work, but also helping out in households. Lee originally expected the entire process to take 8 to 10 years, but now anticipates some use cases will be ready in 5 to 7 years. After working for a few months, I saw how various tools' abilities were improved because of AI. It has accelerated our entire research and development cycle. Companies are rushing into the opportunity. OpenAI itself is backing humanoid robot startups, while Elon Musk Tesla is developing its own called Optimus. do, 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 do. Before humanoid robots reach households, as Limax ultimately intends, factories can be lucrative and closed scenario in which to deploy them. China surpassed Japan in 2013 as the world's largest installer of industrial robots, now accounts for more than 50% of the global total, according to Stanford's latest AI Index report. When it comes to fully replacing human workers, however, AI advancements alone aren't enough. Even if AI allows robots to think and make decisions on par with humans, mechanical limitations are a major reason why humanoids can't yet replace human laborers. One of Limex's backers, Future Capital, has also invested in a company called Pan Motor that specializes in motors for humanoids. Generative AI doesn't directly help with robotic motion, but advances in large language models can help humanoid robots with advanced task planning. I mean, it doesn't directly help with robot motion, but it could help with the motor design, right? A shift toward factory robots can accelerate once the cost per robot comes down. Yes, yes. We already have received 6 orders from research institutions, noting the startup aims to lower the cost per robot to between 50,000 and 100,000 by rollout. And then you just start doing the math. It's really easy to do the math. How much does an employee cost? If your employee costs you $30,000 and the robot costs you $100,000, then the robot would take 3 years to pay for itself, not including, you know, like this is overly simplistic, but you can just say 4 years, right? Because at 4 years, the employee is $120,000 and the robot is still $100,000 plus maintenance. If they can hit a $50,000 price point, they can sell a lot of robots. So I understand people think that, you know, as long as humans are cheaper, then, they will continue to use humans. Um, but humans are inherently more expensive. New particle AI detected anomaly breeding restrictions. Um, New particle AI detected anomaly may uncover novel physics. There's that qualifier. Beyond the standard model. Argonne National Laboratory scientists have used anomaly detection at the Atlas collaboration to search for new particles, identifying a promising anomaly that could indicate new physics beyond the standard model. Scientists use a neural network to sift through large volumes of particle collision data in a study that marks the first use of a neural network to analyze data from a collider experiment. Particle physicists are tasked with mining this massive and growing store of collision data for evidence of undiscovered particles. In particular, they are searching for particles not included in the standard model of particle physics. Our current understanding of the universe's makeup that scientists suspect is incomplete. As part of the Atlas collaboration, scientists at the U.S. Department of Energy and their colleagues recently used a machine learning approach called anomaly detection to analyze large volumes of Atlas data. The method has never before been applied to data from a collider experiment. It has the potential to improve the efficiency of the collaboration search for something new. The collaboration involves scientists from 172 organizations. So, yeah, that's cool. After training, the scientists fed the other 99% of the images through the neural network to detect any anomalies. When given an image as input, the neural network is tasked with recreating Morning Red Hobbit, the image using its understanding of the data as a whole. If the neural network encounters something new and unusual, it gets confused and has a hard time reconstructing the image. If there is a large difference between the input image and the output it produces, it lets us know there might be something interesting to explore in that direction. Amazing. Okay, so got a few articles about the not great, kind of sketchy shit. OpenAI destroyed a trove of books used to train AI models. The employees who collected the data are gone. Newly unsealed documents in the class action lawsuit brought by the Authors Guild against OpenAI reveal the startup deleted two huge datasets, named Books 1 and Books 2, that have been used to train its GPT 3 AI model. Lawyers for the Authors Guild said in court filings that the datasets likely contain more than 100,000 published books and are central to its allegations that OpenAI used copyrighted material to train AI models. Now, they didn't, I don't think they created Books 1 and Books 2, right? My understanding was um, that those were created as part of a uh, 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 uh. Books 1 and Books 2 are two internet based books corpora containing a random sampling of a small subset of all the public domain books that are available online. Um, this is updated in January 2023. I and many others are starting to seriously question what the actual content of Books 1 and Books 2 are. They are not well documented online. Some, including me, might even say that given the significance of their contribution to the AI brains, their contents have been intentionally obfuscated. My research here is ongoing. On the surface, the contents of Book 1 and Book 2 appear to be far less than my original supposition of all public domain books ever. A helpful researcher by the name of Sean Presser has done a hero's task and published a Books 3 dataset. Hmm. What up, Peter? For months, the Guild has been seeking information from OpenAI about the datasets. The company initially resisted, citing confidentiality concerns, before ultimately revealing that it had deleted all copies of the data, according to legal findings. High quality training data, blah, 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 blah. Who created them? The unsealed letter from OpenAI's lawyers, which is labeled highly confidential, attorney's eyes only, says that the use of Books 1 and Books 2 for model training was discontinued in late 2021 and that the datasets were deleted in mid 2022 due to their non use. The letter goes on to say that none of the other data used to train GPT 3 has been deleted and offered attorneys for the Authors Guild access to those other datasets. Unsealed documents also reveal that the two researchers who created Books 1 and Books 2 are no longer employed by OpenAI. Okay, so I guess it was created by them. I thought it was created by somebody else as part of a internet research thing for Google, but I must be conflating two different things. Startup has since identified the employees to lawyers for the Authors Guild, but has not publicly disclosed their names. OpenAI has petitioned the court to keep the names of the two employees as well as information about the datasets under seal. Authors Guild has opposed this, arguing for the public's right to know. The dispute is ongoing. Um, I don't have an issue with the datasets and information about the datasets um being publicly available, right? That's fine. The idea of naming the two employees, people are weird and like I don't see any reason why we would have to name them unless they are in some way culpable for whatever's going on here. But they're not suing these two employees, they're suing OpenAI. So if they're suing OpenAI, they should confine things to OpenAI and not, you know, what amounts to two members of the working class just doing their job. Oh, this is good news. IBM open sources Granite AI models, launches InstructLab platform. IBM and software subsidiary Red Hat have created a new open source platform for AI development called InstructLab. The company announced Tuesday. The new platform is designed to allow anyone to contribute to large language models and increase access to existing models, according to a statement. IBM has open sourced some of its Granite AI models, including its Granite 7B model, for InstructLab users. Red Hat is also launching an enterprise Linux AI platform, which also uses open source Granite models and InstructLab tech. Red Hat SVP and Chief Product Officer Asesh Badani said in a statement that both InstructLab and their AI will help lower many of the barriers facing Gen AI across the hybrid cloud, from limited data science skills to the sheer resources required. Truly open source AI tools aren't too common among the biggest AI firms. Some people in this chat have pointed that out, right? Like, that even what they call open source isn't really necessarily open source. Um, it's just the models are available for anyone to use at no cost, rather than open sourcing the entirety of the thing. Google Gemini is a closed proprietary model, as is Microsoft's Copilot, which was built with some open source tech. Microsoft backed OpenAI has also kept ChatGPT closed off to the public, despite what its name might suggest. And some so called open source AI models aren't as open and available as their creators claim, like Meta's Llama 2. Yeah, Llama, this is IEEE. Llama and ChatGPT are not open source. Few ostensibly open source LLMs live up to the openness claim. IBM's push for open source AI developer platforms comes as some tech organizations like Firefox developer Mozilla take action to support open source AI. Back in March, Mozilla and a group of nearly 50 nonprofit organizations, academic researchers, and AI firms wrote an open letter to the U.S. Department of Commerce asking the feds to embrace truly open and transparent AI models so that the landscape doesn't become dominated by a small handful of for profit firms. Well, they wrote a letter, so that's good. I'm sure that'll show them. So, yeah, this was talking about when is this from? Last year, July, almost a year ago. Compared to other open source LLMs and open source software packages more generally, Llama 2 is considerably closed off. Though Meta has made the trained model available, it's not sharing the model's training data or the code used to train it. While third parties have been able to create applications that extend on the base model, aspiring developers and researchers have a limited ability to pick apart the model as is. Yeah, so this is an example of a chart showing different AIs and their openness, right? There's Bloom's got open code, open LLM weights, open reinforcement learning weights, license code, architecture, datasheet, API, right? But it has restricted RLHF awaits reinforcement learning with human feedback, and they haven't released the paper or the package. So, and then compare that with ChatGPT, which they ain't telling you nothing. So, I'm a fan of open source, more open source, gay open source, fuck IP. Microsoft reveals AI that lives away from the internet for spies and top secret info. It's now deployed, it's live, it answers questions, it will write code. Microsoft Corp has deployed a generative AI model entirely divorced from the internet, saying U.S. intelligence agencies can now safely harness powerful technology to analyze top secret information. It's the first time a major large language model is operated fully separated from the internet, a senior executive at the U.S. company says. Most AI models, including ChatGPT, rely on cloud services to learn and infer patterns from data, but Microsoft wanted to deliver a truly secure system to the U.S. intelligence community. And aren't we so proud of all of them? Spy agencies around the world want generative AI to help them understand and analyze the growing amounts of classified information generated daily, but must balance turning to large language models with the risk that data could leak into the open or get deliberately hacked. Microsoft has deployed the GPT 4 based model and key elements that support it onto a cloud with an air gapped environment that is isolated from the internet. Intelligence officials have repeatedly made clear they hanker after the same generative AI tools that promise to revolutionize swaths of business and modernize economies. CIA last year launched a ChatGPT like service at unclassified levels, but the community wanted something capable of dealing with far more sensitive data. There's a race to get generative AI onto intelligence data. The first company to use generative AI for their intelligence would win that race, and I want it to be us. Microsoft spent the past 18 months working on its system, including overhauling an existing AI supercomputer in Iowa. Chappelle, an electrical engineer who previously worked on microsystems for the DARPA, um, described the endeavor as a passion project and said his team wasn't sure how to go about it when they started in 2022. It's the first time we've ever had an isolated version. When isolated means it's not connected to the internet and it's on a special network that's only accessible by the US government. GPT-4 model placed in the cloud is static, meaning it can read files but not learn from them or from the open internet. This way, Chappelle said, the government can keep its model clean and prevent secret information from getting absorbed into the platform. 10,000 people would theoretically be able to access the AI. It's deployed, it's live, it's answering questions. It will write code is an example of the type of thing it will do. It was inevitable, right? Like, I'm not surprised. Still disappointing. Still disappointing. U.S. revokes Intel and Qualcomm licenses to sell chips to Huawei. U.S. has revoked licenses allowing Huawei Technologies to buy semiconductors from Qualcomm and Intel, according to people familiar with the matter, further tightening export restrictions against the Chinese telecom equipment maker. Withdrawal of the licenses affects U.S. sales of chips for use in Huawei phones and laptops. House Foreign Affairs Committee Chairman Michael McCaul confirmed the administration's decision in an interview Tuesday. He said the move is key to preventing China from developing advanced AI. Not going to prevent anybody from doing anything. It will make it more difficult. It will make it more challenging. But once the thing can be done, other people can also do it as well. It's blocking any chips sold to Huawei. It's blocking any U.S. chips sold to Huawei. Um, those are two companies we've always worried about being a little too close to China. While the decision may not affect a significant amount of chips, it underscores the U.S. government's determination to curtail China's access to a broad swath of semiconductor technology. Officials are also considering sanctions against 6 Chinese firms that they suspect could supply chips to Huawei, which has been on a U.S. trade restriction list since 2019. U.S. Department of Commerce, or U.S. Commerce Department, I don't know if that's different than the U.S. Department of Commerce. I don't think so, but confirmed the withdrawal of certain licenses for exports to Huawei, but declined to offer specifics. The Democratic administration has come under pressure to do more to stop Huawei and other Chinese tech companies after signs of progress in the country's semiconductor development. We continuously assess how our controls can best protect our national security and foreign policy interests. Yay! Microsoft says it's pausing Windows Copilot UI tests. Microsoft wants to tweak what is already tested with Copilot in Windows. Microsoft is taking a break from testing new Copilot AI features within Windows, which may mean, there's a qualifier again, that the company has settled on some ideas that may eventually roll out to the majority of Windows users. Microsoft announced the change in plans on Friday as part of the release of that preview build. Over the last few months, we've been trying out different experiences for Copilot in Windows with Windows insiders across the Canary Dev and Beta channels. Some of these experiences include the ability for Copilot in Windows to act like a normal application window, and the taskbar icon animating to indicate that Copilot can help when you copy text or images. We have decided to pause the rollouts of these experiences to further refine them based on user feedback. Yeah, and this is not anything related to what you and I might have done. They ran some stuff through people within these channels, right? And now they're looking at whatever they're going to take their feedback, what they're able to develop, what they have developed, and then you'll probably see an update um somewhere around May 21st here to show, whatever the new stuff that you're going to have available. What up? It's all costs money. Got Copilot on Kai desktop and on your desktop, and I have done all I could to disable and hinder it. Um, that is an option. Um, the only way you're really going to do it is by you're going to have to convert over to like Linux or something. If you want to use Windows, the future of Windows is going to involve Copilot. So I don't know what to tell you in that regard. Today, yeah. So today you can launch Copilot via the Copilot icon, um, which once lived down in the center of the Windows 11 taskbar. Reinstall Windows 11 with the language. There you go. You can roll back your Windows install. Um, Fully fresh install, and you're not going to be able to. You're going to have to pick and choose your updates, or you're going to have to not get any updates. EU data protections. Okay. Listen to Old Lobster. I do. Why not, Red Hobbit? What's the worst that could happen? Start doing stuff. We don't do stuff anymore. We listen to what the boss says. Anarchy in the streets, dogs and cats living together. Um so yeah. The Microsoft Build conference, and this is like I'm expecting, homie. I appreciate you, and I understand. Like this is Twitch, right? Like do what you got to do, Like as much as this is like I want people to understand the things and do the things, you got to do the real stuff first. You know what I mean? Yeah, I hope that the health shit turns around. Um, But what I was saying, Microsoft is doing their conference, Apple is doing their conference, right? They did something, but I don't know, not entirely certain. But Google is doing their conference. I expect, um, and I feel like the impression I'm getting is that there's another dev day coming up for OpenAI, like more as opposed to waiting all the way to November, sometime soon. So I expect news to be rather sparse. Like today, news is rather sparse, right? I only have a limited number of articles. It's not that many. Because I just feel like you're gonna hold back your stuff until your conference, and then you're gonna release stuff on the day of the conference, right? And then other companies are going to act as they see fit, where they're going to release things in response, or they're going to release to preempt, or that kind of stuff. But as these conferences come online, we'll probably see some interesting things happen. Um, so yeah, it's the 8th, so we got about 13 days until the Microsoft Build conference. I'll see if I can get a schedule of all the things that are happening. We did that. Speaking of Microsoft, new Microsoft AI model may challenge GPT-4 and Google Gemini. In project headed by former Inflection chief Mustafa Suleiman, MAI1 may have 500 billion parameters. I'm planning to attend the supercomputing conference in Atlanta this November. If anyone can get their job to send them, it should be a great event for learning about data center scale AI junk. Nice. Please, if you would be so kind as to report back with whatever information that you can share, that would be cool. Um, I wonder how are they going to call it? My one, my one. Oh, they're gonna call it my one. God damn it! Live stream it, baller. Old lobster stream. Microsoft is working on a new large-scale AI language model called My One, which could potentially rival state-of-the-art models from Google, Anthropic, and OpenAI, according to a report by The Information. Marks the first time Microsoft has developed an in-house AI model of this magnitude since investing over 10 billion in OpenAI for the rights to reuse the startup's AI model. GPT-4 powers not only ChatGPT, but also a Microsoft Copilot. Development of My One is being led by Mustafa Suleiman, former Google AI leader who also served as CEO of the AI startup Inflection before Microsoft acquired the majority of the startup staff and intellectual property for 650 million in March. Although My One may build on techniques brought over by the former staff, it is reportedly an entirely new large language model, as confirmed by two Microsoft employees familiar with the project. With approximately 500 billion parameters, My One will be significantly larger than Microsoft's previous open source models, such as Phi 3, requiring more computing power and training data. This reportedly places My One in a similar league to GPT 4, which is rumored to have over 1 trillion parameters, and well above smaller models like Meta and Mistral's 70 billion parameter models. Development of My One suggests a dual approach to AI within Microsoft, focusing on both small locally run language models for mobile devices and larger state of the art models that are powered by the cloud. I mean that's the standard operating procedure for a good chunk of them now. Gemini has multiple levels of model. Claude has multiple levels of model. Um, what being able to put a locally run model on a device gives you speed, right? Like you don't have to wait. Speed and also like I could run something off this if it had a locally run model without having to be connected to the internet. So it gives me the ability to use this in a place that might not have access to cell towers or Wi-Fi or anything else like that. Um, Information reports that Microsoft may preview My One as early as its Build Developer Conference later this month, as reported by one of the sources cited by the publication. Yeah, I don't know if they're going to drop it unless they've been doing more, right? Because they just picked up Suleiman in March. So unless they were well along their way, they're not going to, you know, it's going to take a few months to build this stuff, right? Even if they have all the good ideas and everything. Um, but they might preview something depending on what they have, right? You don't want to Google this shit, right? Where you talk about what your model is capable of and then have to mea culpa your ass out. And then finally, from The Verge, Amazon adds 50 electric trucks to its delivery fleet in a bid to reduce pollution. Amazon is deploying 50 battery electric heavy duty trucks in California, which it claims is the largest such fleet in the country. The company says the new trucks represent an important step in its mission to eliminate pollution from its global operations, even as carbon emissions have spiked in recent years. Amazon says the trucks will be integrated into first mile operations, in which goods are moved from container ships at the ports to fulfillment centers, as well as middle mile operations, in which packages are transported from fulfillment centers to delivery centers. From there, the packages will be loaded into Amazon's last mile fleet, a portion of which are electric delivery vans are produced by Rivian. The heavy duty trucks are produced by Volvo, a division of the Swedish automaker. Several models with range up to 275 miles, 565 kilowatt hours of battery capacity, and a 0 to 80% charging time of 90 minutes. That's huge, right? This is that quick charging. I mean, 90 minutes is still a long ass time. Um, if you're looking to get moving right away, kind of thing, right? Like comparing the 90 minutes to how long it takes to fill your car with gas is, you know, but 90 minutes still offers a significant solution, at least in the near term. Towing capacity can top 66,000 pounds, depending on the model. Battery range likely to be negatively impacted with more weight in tow. Some of the new trucks will work as part of Amazon's drayage fleet. What up, Bobby? What is a drayage? I mean, I understand what it is here, but like, drayage is the transporting of shipping containers by truck. Oh, okay. So this is when they just take, they take the container right off the thing and put it on the thing. Maybe they should have more realistic timetables for cross-country shipping. The problem is range, right? Range plus time. 275 miles is not far enough. And with a charge time of 90 minutes, and let's say what's 80% of 275? 220. So, let's say a best case scenario, right? Probably significantly less than this. Probably like 200, 190, right? Every 90 minutes plus travel time. Yeah. And then you charge again, so you got to wait another 90 minutes. Now, I see advantages to this, right? You're on the road for 3 hours, 90-minute break. You're on the road for 3 hours, 90-minute break. But that requires us to look at things differently. And the more likely thing is that you would take your Amazon truck to the Amazon depot, it would get hooked up in the charger, and you would jump in a fresh truck that's been charged and continue on your way with your payload, you know? So it's like I can see both sides of it, right? We're yeah, we're not getting 3 miles of driving followed by 90-minute breaks. Um, I mean, you kind of have to do it with numbers like 50 trucks is nothing, right? 50 trucks local is a big deal, but it's part of like a national shipping kind of thing. It's nothing. So, and remember, all these jobs are going to be replaced by automation anyway. So it's good, and it's also like, what are we doing? What are we even fucking doing out here? What are we doing to step up to the plate? I wish Adam was here. Adam, are you here? Um, Yesterday, Adam brought up the idea of a so you brought up that idea yesterday regarding simulacra and Jean B's philosophy and like that. And I went and I talked to Zach, and Zach gave me some videos, and those videos are going to serve as the centerpiece for a conversation about exactly that kind of stuff later today. So the 5 p.m. show has a theme in addition to this stuff. Um, so it should be a good one. I did pre-watch in order to understand because originally I got the videos for me so that I could, intelligently respond to what Adam was talking about. And I'm like, we can work with this, right? So we're gonna have a little AI philosophy um, action later on today. So if that sounds like fun, and even if it doesn't, show up because I am the prettiest streamer on Twitch. Um, but yeah, I am. That's it. That's the news for today. I don't have anything else to give you really. So stick around for the raid. Don't run off. Don't run off. Um, um, we'll raid Grumlow again. I part of what I base who I'm going to rate is how big, the number of people are versus how big the audience that they currently have is, so that it's like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I love doing the thing. Um, and I love tofu. I love both tofus. I think they're both great. There's probably other tofus. I probably would like them as well. So we're gonna raid over to Gremlo and like that. Be back 5 p.m. Eastern. I'm sure I'll see some of you in other chats over the course of the day. Yo, 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 yo. Yeah. I hope you have a wonderful day. It's Wednesday, my dudes. If you work the normal 5-day weekday work week, then you're halfway through. Right? All downhill from here. Halfway there. In the meantime, drink your water, eat some food, take your meds if you forgot, and always remember that Shuggy loves you. So do I. Be great.